are listening to the Basketball Nerd Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Basketball Nerd Podcast, Episode 3. I'm your host, as always, Derek Lauder, and I'm joined by my co-host, Frank Alger. Second round series are in the mix. We got coverage from all four of them going, and they're all pretty good, except some people may argue that Warriors-Rockets maybe is a little bit lopsided, but we will get to that. We're going to start out with what happened last night between the 76ers and the Raptors. We're talking with the big 76ers supporters here and Frank Alger. I myself, I've been doubtful and critical of the 76ers in the past, but after last night, I will admit that it's pretty hard to doubt. And if they're playing the way they are, I think that is the best shot to beat Golden State, and I'm all supportive of that going forward. So what were your thoughts of the game last night?
I've been on the 76er bandwagon for a little while now. Before the 2017 season, before Ben Simmons' rookie year, I was really high on them going into the year, and they proved me right. And I've been high on them this entire year, and I've been saying that they are the best threat to beat Golden State in the finals. I think the Bucks have a chance too in the finals, but I would give the Sixers a better chance than the Bucks to beat them, just because that starting five, and people like to talk about their depth. They only play 7 to 8 guys every night, and that's what happens in the playoffs. Like, the Raptors are so deep, and everybody, that was their strength. They're so deep, and their bench isn't showing up, and they're not even playing their full bench because it's the playoffs. Like, the Sixers have at least 1 to 2 starters on the floor for 48 minutes, so you don't need a bench if you got a starting five that's that elite. But I love the Sixers. I think Sixers-Bucks will be a tremendous series. I'm already counting out the Celtics big time. And it just seems like it's Kawhi versus the Sixers right now offensively. I mean, if you look at the numbers, the Raptors are horrible when Kawhi is off the court.
Well, it is definitely Kawhi versus the Sixers, but I guess as far as the Sixers go right now, Ben Simmons playing off the ball and getting more touches down low by the post and by the baseline,
Massive.
That's huge. That's how they need to play going forward, and I don't know why people try to put him into this mold of a point guard and try to make him a point guard when really he's just a player with really good vision and really good in transition. Do you see how effective Jokic is with vision and passing down in the post? I mean, why not run Simmons in the 4 or 5 position, and if he gets the rebound,
if he gets the board, he can put. He had a great where he got the board, took it down, ooped it to Jimmy Butler. It was great. But that started in game 2 in Toronto when things got tight. Jimmy just said, "Screw it, I'm bringing the ball up. I'm going ultra aggressive. Like, we cannot lose this game." And I think it kind of woke everyone up with the Sixers, and Brett Brown in the press conference kind of was like, "Hey, we are at our best when Jimmy's our aggressive like playmaker, and he's really setting up the offense through everything and run screen pick and rolls with the pick and roll with Jimmy Butler as the ball handler with Embiid is infinitely more effective than running the pick and roll with Simmons as the ball handler with Embiid." And I think they came to that realization. And people forget this is their like 14th time playing with this starting lineup.
Especially because Simmons doesn't space the floor, so if you don't put him at the 3-point line, you take away that disadvantage of not spacing the floor because you're putting them in a position where they're already going to have to guard him. You can put them down in the post, or maybe down in the post, but down by the baseline, or down off the block by when Butler and Embiid are in the pick and roll. They're going to go to help off that pick and roll, and when they do that, they're just going to dish it off to Simmons for a wide open dunk every time. So that's a really effective offense, and I really like him playing off the ball. That's a really good position for him to play, and I like Jimmy bringing it up.
Well, yeah, when Embiid came out of the game, some instances, they would get the ball in the post to Ben Simmons with Kyle Lowry on him, who he's a foot taller, or Powell on him, and he would either make a great pass or get into the paint and have a great shot inside the paint, a really high efficient shot. That's his shot. I mean, I really love how the Sixers are starting to mold these last handful of games. Like, they're starting to figure out how they should be playing to be at their best. And I still think they have potential to play even better than they are right now.
I think so, too, because that style, that since Simmons has played his first game, which wasn't his rookie year, it was his second year, but we'll leave it at that. Since he has played his first game in the league, he's been the primary bar handler on his team. And for him not to be the primary ball handler, and I've always been very critical of Simmons, but really I think more it's that, I've been critical of how he's been used. I think that Brett Brown's has not used him well, but I think that this series has shown that when he's used a different way in the post and used to make plays, to pass the ball, to wing defenders and to come when people help. I keep comparing it to Jokic because you can see that when Jokic gets the balls in the post, literally the defense freezes. It's hard to keep track of all the off-ball movement when the ball's in the post, and the defense freezes because they can't keep track of it. So I think Simmons down there could be extremely effective. Butler has shown that he is a killer. He's a playmaker on the wing, and when he's bringing up the ball, he is one of the smartest players on the court. I really believe that he knows what players need the ball, who needs to get their shot, who needs hot, and he has a good relationship with most on the team. So I think that this Philly team is scary if they play like that.
They stopped playing T.J. McConnell, and now when Simmons does go out, it really is just Butler that's the point guard, which I love that too. I mean, Butler was the majority of the point guard for the most of yesterday. So it showed.
Simmons can be your backup 5 too. Obviously not backup,
like a small ball lineup.
You can make the rotations, and he can get those minutes when Embiid goes out, and you can rotate Simmons over. It's going to be really effective. He's a great defender, and what he's doing to Kawhi on the other end is underrated. That's huge. I mean, the first game, Jimmy Butler could not guard Kawhi, and now you got Simmons on him, and he's giving him serious problems. He can guard him.
Kawhi is still getting buckets, but
he can definitely slow him down.
I mean, he does play. He does. He's nowhere. He's not as efficient with Simmons is on because Simmons. He's 6'10" and a half, and he's got the speed and quickness like a point guard, like a guard, So, I mean, and he's really athletic. So that's all the makings of a really good defender if he, wants to play defense. And he does show he does play defense.
He does. And Tobias Harris finding his stroke is huge. He's an all-star caliber player, and for him to find his three-point stroke and to find his jump shot, it's scary. I mean, when he's
the crazy thing is
like
Redick hasn't been good, nowhere near good this entire series.
No,
he's been bad.
Bro, if the Sixers, it could be a little bit of a reaction because this series could go 7 and could go either way, and we really don't know what's going to happen these next couple days. But this next game is massive. If they win this game, like whoever wins this next game is probably going to be favored to come out of the series. To be honest, the Bucks have not looked as dominant as expected.
Bucks Celtics game 3 tonight. What do you think? In Boston?
I don't know. I think these games are extremely hard to tell. I think that the Bucks are probably going to win, but it's going to be an extremely close game. I think that Kyrie and Giannis could go off because you've had one game where Giannis played bad, one game where Kyrie played bad, and then both those games respectively, their teams got pretty much destroyed. So I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to do when they both play good. We're going to hopefully be in for a really good down-to-the-wire game, but Giannis pulling up from 3. Can we talk about that? I mean, all of a sudden, that's not just a joke. That's actually like he can pull up. He's not shooting a great percentage, but he's making people
in game 2. I think he went 2 of 4 from 3. So I mean, that's obviously if you get 2 of 4 from 3, like that's massive. I mean, that opens the floor so much for him if people are worried about closing out on him, which they probably still won't because I mean he's still a really bad 3-point shooter.
No, like in these last couple of games, they have been closing out and putting up hands, not running hard. I mean, we talk about basketball theory, like you don't close out on Giannis. This is what the coaches say, but when you're on the court and people pull up, like look at Embiid. What do you think the coaches are telling those people? Don't fall for the pump fake. Let him shoot the semi-contested 3. But every time the dude pump fakes, the defender puts their hands up and falls for the fake.
Not every time, but the thing is when Embiid catches at the 3-point line, he does that pump fake a lot when he doesn't want to shoot the 3. And even if the guy doesn't really bite on it, Embiid can still have the quickness off the dribble because it's still the guy, even if he doesn't jump and close out, he can still put it on the floor and has that step because that dude's going forward and Embiid is going to have the momentum going towards the basket while the defender's momentum's going the other way. And then like how Jimmy Butler was saying, shoot that 3, like every time if you're open, shoot it. Embiid went 3 of 3 last night from 3. If he made, and like when he did the windmill dunk in the 4th, he already went 3 of 3 from 3. So he gave that head fake and Gasol completely bit on that time. Wide open lane, windmill dunk. So, I mean, that's a potential if people start respecting his 3-point shot and start closing out on him hard, that could be scary. But I mean, I don't see Giannis the rest of this series or playoffs consistently making 3s. Game 2 was kind of an anomaly.
Bro, not even. Game 1, he went 3 for 5.
I mean, his career.
And he's not like looking it bad. I mean, he's walking down the court and pulling up.
He's felt good in those two
people's
games.
face in big moments.
From three,
I mean,
but
here's the thing:
we'll
is
see.
that, you know, as humans, anything we do is life. If we do it enough, you're going to get better. And that's something very specific. Like Giannis has worked on that shot, walking down the court and pulling up from a certain spot. He's not going to be a great off-the-ball dribbler. He may not be good catch and shoot. He may never be good at free throws. But you can tell he's practiced that specific shot, walk up three-pointer, and he wants to make that so that people can respect him and that is his shot. He wants a shot that people can respect so that you can't play off him 10 feet. And he wants you just to have to get up in his face. He doesn't need to have all those other catch and shoot skills. He just needs one 3-point shot that you have to respect.
He just wants the defender to respect his shot. Once that happens, that's going to change. Because he's not going to, obviously, like, his game is inside out, is ideally, you know. Who do you have winning this game, though, tonight? This is a big game. Would you consider this a must-win for the Bucks?
No.
Okay.
If anything, it's a must-win for the Celtics. I'll probably take the Bucks, like I said, in a close game. I think Giannis has a really good game, but, I mean, it's really crazy how Jason Tatum has kind of disappeared. Most of the Celtics have kind of disappeared. We're kind of just working with, you know, a couple of them will show up every night, but they are a good team, and they're a consistent team. So, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they win, but I do think it's going to be the Bucks that end up pulling that one out. And if Jason Tatum can go back to his old self of not being an ISO player and being more quick decision, move the ball, get ready for people to take shots, instead of just kind of stopping the ball and being a weaker version of himself, you know, I'm not sure how these Celtics are going to look. But when Gordon Hayward does show up and look like his own self, that's big. But there's so many moving variables with the Celtics. I mean, we will see what happens, but I really do think that the Bucks take this series, and I probably do think that they take it tonight.
I think the Bucks are just. I mean, if you want to play devil's advocate, you could say, "Oh, Kyrie's not going to have a game like he had in Game 2. Chris Middleton isn't going to go 7 of 10 from 3 like he did. Giannis isn't going to go 2 for 4 from 3. They're not going to be draining threes like they did in Game 2. But the Bucks are the better team. They really are. Like, the Bucks are such a good team. They're deeper. They got the best player in this series. And I really expect the Bucks to come out tonight and show that they're the better team and win this game without much stress. And then Game 4 is going to be huge. I mean, I was surprised Celtics won Game 1. I was very surprised. I mean, I was on record. I said Bucks would win in 5 convincingly, not have much worry. So, yeah,
They
it still
still
can.
can do
It
that.
still can. So, I mean, we'll see. But I definitely see them winning tonight. I mean, they're just a better team with the best player. I mean, Giannis could be running the East for a while, especially if he comes out the East this year. I mean, he's gonna be nobody's gonna be touching him as the best player in the East for a while, unless KD goes to New York or something.
I mean, and let's put it this way. I'm not going to count out the Celtics because they are a very good team, but I'm way more confident in, like, the Blazers to take their next 2 games than the Celtics. You know, the Bucks, I think, are the better team. This series is pretty much
Well, the Bucks are the
over,
better team than the Celtics.
I think it's over. I do think the games are going to be close, but if the Bucks keep shooting like it is, I think it's going to be over pretty much.
I'm still infatuated of how people still act like all year that the Celtics are like this great team and what have they done this year? What have they done? What have they shown to be a proven team? I mean, even last year, I mean, they lost every single road game in the playoffs with their young guys, and who did they even beat in the playoffs? The one real competitor they played, they lost in 7 games to LeBron. I mean, I don't understand this infatuation of how the Celtics are so hyped up. I mean, on paper, they're deep. And they have a lot of talent. And they have a lot of good young players, and their head coach is supposed to be really good. But they haven't shown greatness once this entire year. So if they beat the Bucks, then I'll be like, okay, they're for real. But I really don't see that happening.
I mean, who knows though? I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Celtics won. I mean, you know, Kyrie can go off and. With that being said, Kyrie can go off and drop 40. It's not a huge difference in these teams. If Kyrie and Giannis both play good, I do think it's going to be a close game. But I do think Bucks are in line to take the series and hopefully should wrap it up decently soon. 5 or 6 would be my take. Let's go ahead and talk about Nuggets versus Blazers,
Yeah.
though. That game
Yeah.
3's tonight. Who are you taking in that?
Well, you know what's crazy? So Nuggets went into a 7-game series, had 1 day rest, played game 1. 1 day rest, played game 2. Usually, when you have usually have 2 days rest going in the next road game. They had 1 day rest. So and Jokic has been playing like 43 minutes every single game, the last 3 straight games, and on 1 day rest. Like, that's kind of a huge disadvantage to the Nuggets. They get 2 days rest after game 3, but that's the biggest reason why I'm taking Blazers tonight. It's at home and they're rested. The Nuggets have been going. I mean, Jamal Murray has a quad injury and he's been playing big minutes every single night. I mean, they've been through grueling. They really got at a disadvantage with this schedule making. Like, they didn't get 2 days rest for that travel after going 7 games. That's tough. And then you got the Warriors. Yeah, the Warriors. Yeah, that's it's just that's also tough. Yeah, it's so tough. So that's why I got Blazers tonight. I do think this series. I said Blazers in 7, so I do think this series is far from over. So, but I do have Blazers tonight mainly for the rest reasons. What do you think?
I think we're going Blazers tonight as well. I'm sticking with Dame, Logo Lillard. I'm sticking with Blazers in 5. I think they're going to go home and actually take both of these games. Not because the Nuggets are bad. I do think that they're a better team, but it is a big part because of the schedule and the fact that the Nuggets are running off no rest and a couple injuries. And I'm not saying that they're for sure going to close out in 5 because that's my preseason or pre-series prediction, but I do think it's going to be over in 5 or 6 for the Blazers.
Yeah, I think Blazers are favored by -4.5 tonight. I see them covering that tonight.
I agree.
I see them
Lillard
winning.
covers.
I mean, I'm not gonna not super convincingly, but I see them winning without much trouble.
I see them winning convincingly.
Yeah, I could see that. A question I want to ask you though, I mean, after this series has gone down and everything, who's the best player in this series? Is it Jokic or Damian Lillard? Who do you think is the better player?
I mean, it's kind of hard comparing those two positions to me. Like, who would I take?
It's not about the position, just
Like, who would
who's
I
the
take
better
one
player.
game for the playoffs right
Who has
now?
the bigger
I'd probably
impact
take
on the
Damian
game? You
Lillard.
think that's
But if you're asking me who I'd start my franchise with, I would take Jokic. I think that he's going to have a bigger impact long term and be a better player. But right now, as far as I think Dame can go get you 50 and win you a playoff game, Jokic can do that too, but I think I'd take Dame regardless of team he's on.
so close? Yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment. I would agree. Jokic is younger, so I would definitely want him long term. And Jokic, he's still getting disrespected. They're acting like, I was hearing on broadcast and everyone talking about him, Embiid, and that like no one's really on Embiid's level. I'm like, Jokic is probably better than Embiid. I mean, you see what he's doing. I saw this thing. What was it? Oh, I think it was like Chris Broussard saying, how no one's really been. I don't know, maybe it wasn't Chris Broussard. I don't remember who it was, but it was saying how no one's having to play, like 44 minutes, a night like LeBron had to do last year in the playoffs. And I was like, my boy Jokic is literally playing 40+ minutes every single game in the playoffs and leads the touches by a mile more than any other player. They run everything through him, and he's every first playoffs of his career.
Yeah,
he
really is
super young. And he has shown, which this is a huge factor to show how great a player he is. When you go into the playoffs, every single statistic has gone up in the playoffs. Points, rebounds, assists, shooting, everything has gone up, and which just shows what kind of player he really is. And it showed in Game 6 and Game 7 against the Spurs in kind of must-win games. Even in Game 6, 43 points, and then in Game 7, he had a triple-double and he was the best player on the court and led him. And then Game 1, he had a 30-point triple-double, just 8 – or no, not a 30-point triple-double, but he had 30 points and like 10 rebounds and some – yeah, it was a dominating performance. He's a special player. I do think Jokic, if Jamal Murray could develop into a really consistent, 25-point-per-game guy, but like if you compare him with like a Damian Lillard, a Bradley Beal, or like a Devin Booker kind of guard – to play off of Jokic, I could be like a modern day dominant. I'm not saying like the same style, but a modern day dominance of like a Kobe, Shaq type deal.
Yeah, I know what you're saying
where
with that.
It's not the same. It's completely different. It's like a modernized NBA
Like the new
where
version of it.
They both can shoot. They're both making plays, and like that Jokic has the potential to. You could create a a force around Jokic.
Well, MPJ. When MPJ comes back, he still hasn't played.
Yeah, but
He can shoot.
he's that 4. He's for, Millsap, like that's the role. I'm talking about like Jamal Murray might develop into that, but Jamal Murray's still way too inconsistent, and Gary Harris is still way too inconsistent. Solid players,
Harris
but like
is inconsistent.
not a guy who's going to average 25 for a season yet.
So you still think Blazers are taking this in 7?
Yeah, I got Blazers in 7. People forgot. I feel like since Dane's been so good, is how good CJ McCollum really is too. So, I think we're in for a great series. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Nuggets win this series, though. It's going to be a great series.
Let's go ahead and talk about the next series, Warriors versus Rockets. What's your takes away from the first 2 games of that series?
So, Game 1 really took a lot of air out of the series. If you're not a Warriors fan, anyone watching, or like a James Harden hater, you would clearly see there's at least minimum four clearly fouls on 3-point shots, like clear as day, like fouls. Like it's not he's kicking the legs. Look at his hip. He's getting hip checked. You can't be getting
Bro,
like he got
so
hip
many
checked like
fouls.
4 times by Clay while shooting a 3. Those are all fouls. Every single one of them, without question. So if you're not a Warriors fan or a James Harden hater and don't have that bias, it's clear that and then the Rockets lost focus going into Game 2 because of, and you can't let that happen, as deflating as that is. And then they just kind of they came out, they played really bad the whole first half. They locked back in for the second half, but it wasn't enough. I will say this though, it is deflating after Game 1 and everything, but Rockets aren't dead yet. Rockets are not dead yet. I see they're winning Game 3. They're winning Game 3. They're going to be locked in focus. This is what they thought about.
If they can win Game 3 and Game 4, they're not
Obviously.
dead. I mean, they're back in the series. They can make a really good run at it, really good push, and hopefully it'll be very exciting. But I don't know how much faith I have in that. I just can't believe those calls in Game 1 and then how they came out in Game 2.
Yeah, as
It's
an
extremely
NBA fan,
deflating for an NBA
with
fan.
no just watching as a fan, not a fan of the Warriors or Rockets. Obviously, most NBA fans probably would like to see the Warriors lose, but like just watching and just being, it was egregious. It was unbelievable. It was embarrassing.
Horrible. It was unfair. It was embarrassing for the league. It was not a good look. It was just, I don't know how you expect the Rockets to win if you're going to take that call away. They've been calling that all year. That's their entire game, is that step back 3, and they've literally called that foul the entire NBA season. I just don't get it. And then what kills me is that they go in at halftime, recognize that they missed calls. All the announcers were talking about it, and then they go out in the second half and they continue to miss calls. So it's a little concerning. It definitely took the air out of the series for me. Game 2 was even more deflating. It was as exciting as like the 4th regular season game. Like, hopefully Game 3, Harden's eyes are right. He goes off, and
if you're the NBA, you would imagine they're praying for Rockets winning Game 3. I mean, this was hyped up to be like the biggest series of the playoffs, and like now all the air has been taken out. If the Rockets can come and get Game 3, that juice will be back, because Game 4 will feel massive.
Well, the Warriors did it to themselves. I mean, we'll kind of lead into the last topic, but I'll say it and talk for myself. I really hope that Kevin Durant does leave the Warriors this offseason, because as an unbiased NBA fan, the NBA is losing its attention and its draw and its excitement for just regular games in the playoffs that aren't Warriors, because it's not just me. Ratings have dropped year over year tremendously in the playoffs for the season, and a lot of it is because the only game that really matters is the game that the Warriors are playing.
There's some factors to that,
if they continue to go win, then everyone else is just playing for second and third place. And the ratings are showing it, and I think that it's really affecting just the vibe of the league as a whole. This second round is supposed to be, the most amazing second round in a while. People were talking about, hey, it was some of the greatest matchups that they've seen as far as 4 total in the playoffs in forever. And now the ratings have just completely dropped what people expected them to go up. And that is concerning no matter what. And so going forward in the future, I'm just excited as an NBA fan to get some parity in the league. I'm excited for Kevin Durant to choose another team, whether it's Brooklyn or New York, maybe Phoenix. I'm just excited.
I mean, to be devil's advocate, though, the NBA has always been like dynasty filled, like since the dawn of time.
Yeah, but that is different. The Warriors are more than a dynasty. It's literally not fair. Like, if Kevin Durant goes anywhere else, they're still a dynasty. They won 73 games. That's the greatest team in NBA history.
Who knows
That's
if they win another
right
championship if KD leaves, though.
It's starting to get a little bit to the point where people are getting bored and uninterested in the league anymore. We have friends who are casual NBA fans who, yeah, Warriors are going to win. I'll watch in June.
The ratings are dictated by, like, casual NBA fans. Like, hardcore NBA fans like me and you are going to watch, all the games, no matter what they are, regardless, because we are big NBA fans. But if you're a casual fan, I know everyone's got friends who are casual fans, and if you're casual and you're not really paying attention to it, you're just like, oh, the Warriors are gonna win it all. Like, this is stupid. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll watch in June. Like, that's the last 4 years. That's what everybody was saying. We're like, oh, I'm just gonna watch in June when the Cavs Warriors play, because that's the only thing that really matters. And I kind of hate that notion because the Warriors got extremely lucky last year. It's not like they ran through everyone. The Rockets had them.
No, but that was the NBA Finals pretty much last season. Only one series mattered. You can argue that the Cavs series matters all you want about Game 1 and stuff, but that series was over when it first started.
Game 1, if the Rockets Warriors go to this same is a quick series after that Game 1, it will be a similar feel to the Game 1 Finals because LeBron was playing at the greatest level in basketball history that playoffs, and it's not even close, and it's not even debatable. And then he had that 50-point game, and the refs blew it with that reviewing it and changing it to a charging call. That was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. Then J.R. Smith, messing up, and that caused LeBron to mess up his hand. And I mean, LeBron still is going to put up good numbers, but he didn't play at that same level that he was playing going into that Game 1 after he injured his hand after that whole debacle, and that just changed everything. If LeBron stayed at that level and they won Game 1 and never had that hand injury, I mean, it's a big what if. We have no idea, but I bet it would have been a competitive series. I mean, I could definitely see the Cavs getting at least one more game and going 6 and, putting pressure on the Warriors, and it would have been completely different. And that's another thing that the NBA should be embarrassed about with that charging call reversal, that review. That's the only time I've ever seen it go to review and them change a foul call to an offensive foul call, which is just unbelievable to me. So one last thing to talk about is our team, the Phoenix Suns, getting in the headlines. We got ourselves a new head coach, baby.
We got the guy we wanted.
Everyone, I find this funny because I keep close with this fan base. I have a lot of friends who are fans, and initially when we fired Igor and we were like, oh, we're targeting Monty Williams, and everyone was like, oh wow, we're targeting Monty Williams. We fired Igor. Monty's going to the Lakers. We're stupid.
Never gonna get Monty Williams.
We have no chance to get Monty Williams. And then we get Monty Williams, and there's like a small portion of fans who are now like, oh wow, this isn't going to be a good hire. Like, look what he's done and everything. Like,
look at his 2014 and 2015 offense where they ran a lot of long twos and a lot of iso.
I don't get it. A lot of the fan base, though, I feel like they're excited for Monty Williams because he is tremendously respected around the league by players and everything. And everyone knows KD is super respected by him. And I think it's funny that Suns fans think us hiring Monty gives us a chance to get KD, which is not going to happen. But I love that thought.
If we get the number 1 pick and we trade it for another star, that's the smallest percentage, and that's the one chance we have.
I give it like a 1% chance, but I mean, that's just me being biased as a Suns fan.
I think KD's just going to the Nets, though. It's not just KD with Monty Williams, though.
So many players around the entire league.
Tobias Harris literally just said last week that he needs to be an NBA head coach because everybody respects him, and he commands that in the locker room. That's what the Suns need, some leadership going forward. Can we start with some leadership and some respect, and then we can start working on our offensive game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, players will respect Monty more than Igor. As you could say, Igor is respected in the coaching world, overseas and everything that he's done. In the coaching world, Igor is extremely respected. From a player's perspective, he doesn't have that criteria to be respected enough to be the head coach yet, obviously, and that's why he's not the head coach still, unfortunately.
He doesn't.
And
Monty Williams played in the NBA. He's coached in the NBA.
He's just respected.
He's been with the
by
76ers.
The league. He's a tremendous character, is by all reports, and he is a good leader. I mean, and I think it's incredibly unfair to judge what he's going to do when he hasn't coached since 2014.
Absolutely. The NBA has changed in these last 4 years more than it ever has with the development of the three-pointers and analytics and what has came. And so to try to, use his offense from 2014 to say that's what it's going to be like, and I'm disappointed in the hire because of that. It's sad. All right, well, that's all we got today for episode 3 of the Basketball Nerd Podcast. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us. Tonight, make sure you tune into the games. Let us know how you like them. You can check us out on Twitter. We'll be live tweeting them at bball_nerd. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Check us out on iTunes. Also subscribe on there. You can search up Basketball Nerd, Derek Lauder, or Frank Alger. Subscribe to the podcast. Anything else you want to say?
Just keep on watching. Keep like, subscribe, all this stuff. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, we want to hear your feedback.
Give your opinions and your thoughts, If you disagree with some of our takes, let us know. We want to know.
Let us know where we are wrong and you are right. So let us know on Twitter, like I said, at _bballnerd, and make sure you catch the game tonight. And we'll be back next week to wrap up the second round and get you ready for the conference finals.
You're listening to the Basketball Nerd Podcast.